Ladies and gentlemen, why do we stay stuck in jobs we hate? Why do we avoid opportunities that could change our lives? Why do we silence our dreams before they even have a chance to breathe? It's not because we lack talent, it's not because we don't have time, and it's certainly not because we're incapable. It's because of one thing: fear. Fear is the silent architect behind so many of our regrets. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as responsibility. But at its core, fear is a liar. It robs us of potential, of joy, and of the life we were meant to live. Today, we're not here just to talk about fear. We're here to challenge it, to understand it, and ultimately to eliminate it from our lives. Because when you stop letting fear dictate your choices, you start living a life that's not just safe but significant. Let's begin. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. At its core, fear is a deeply ingrained biological response. It's hardwired into our nervous systems through thousands of years of evolution. When we sense danger, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, our brain fires off signals. The heart races, breathing quickens, muscles tighten. It's the fight, flight, or freeze response in action. And it has helped humanity survive. Fear, in its most primal form, keeps us alive. But in the modern world, the threats have changed. We are no longer running from saber-toothed tigers or trying to survive in the wilderness. Today's fears are more subtle, more psychological. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. These fears don't come with sharp teeth or growls in the night. They come with deadlines, job interviews, unspoken expectations, and the crushing weight of self-doubt. And while fear is still a natural reaction, what we choose to do with it is something else entirely. That's where the shift happens. That's where courage comes in, because courage is not a reaction, it's a decision. It's a conscious choice to act in the face of fear. It's a mindset. It's the deliberate move forward when every part of you is screaming to turn back. This is what separates those who move ahead in life from those who stay stuck. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of courage. The willingness to feel the fear and still take a step forward. The realization that the fear itself isn't the enemy, our submission to it is. People often wait for fear to go away before they begin. I'll start the business when I feel more confident. I'll speak up once I'm not afraid of what they'll think. I'll chase my dream when I'm ready. But here's the hard truth: that day never comes, because fear doesn't vanish with time, it vanishes with action. Action is what dulls its edge. Movement is what makes it smaller. Waiting only makes it grow. The key is to separate the signal from the story. Fear may signal something important, it's trying to protect you, but the story it tells is rarely true. You'll fail, you're not good enough, they'll laugh at you. These stories, left unchallenged, become our reality. But when you recognize them for what they are, just thoughts, just noise, you begin to take back control. This is why courage is a decision. It's not a feeling you wait for. It's a muscle you strengthen. It's a voice you choose to listen to. Every time you take a step forward in fear, you train your brain to see the truth that you are capable. That the fear is temporary, that the consequence is rarely as big as you imagined. Think of the people you admire: leaders, innovators, artists, change-makers. Every one of them felt fear, but they made the decision to act anyway. They made the call, gave the speech, launched the idea, walked into the unknown. Not because they were fearless, but because they chose courage in the moment fear showed up. And courage doesn't always look grand. Sometimes it's quiet, it's saying no when you've always said yes. It's asking for help, it's admitting you don't know. It's trying again after a failure. These are the micro decisions that build a courageous life, not one big leap, but hundreds of small choices stacked on top of each other. There's also an important distinction. Courage isn't recklessness. Choosing courage doesn't mean ignoring risk. It means acknowledging it and deciding that something else matters more. That your purpose, your growth, your truth are worth stepping into discomfort. because the cost of fear is stagnation. And the price of courage is freedom. Most people never consciously decide to live in fear. It creeps in through habit, through routine, through the stories we're told and the ones we tell ourselves. But the good news is, just as fear is learned, courage can be learned too. It's built through repetition, exposure, and choice. You can train yourself to recognize when fear is holding the pen and choose to write a different chapter. We fear most what we don't understand. Fear thrives in the unknown. It feeds on uncertainty, ambiguity, and the absence of clarity. When something is unfamiliar, our minds instinctively fill in the gaps, often with worst-case scenarios. This is a deeply human trait. Our brains are wired to protect us by anticipating danger, and when information is lacking, the imagination takes over. And the imagination, when driven by fear, rarely paints a hopeful picture. This is why people fear change. Not necessarily because change itself is bad, but because they don't understand what it will bring. They fear new environments, new roles, new relationships, not because they are certain these things will go wrong, but because they aren't sure how they'll go at all. That uncertainty becomes the breeding ground for hesitation. The mind whispers, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't handle it? What if I lose everything? And without clear answers, people retreat. This is not just theory. It's something we see every day. Someone wants to leave their job to start a business, but they've never done it before. They don't know how to register a company, how to get clients, how to manage finances. The unknown creates fear, and that fear keeps them where they are. Another person wants to confront someone who hurt them, but they don't know how the conversation will unfold. Will it become a fight? Will it change the relationship forever? That uncertainty fuels avoidance. When we don't understand something, we assume it has power over us. We make it bigger than it really is. This happens with people too. We fear what we don't understand in others, their beliefs, their behaviors, their perspectives. This creates division, judgment, and even hatred. Understanding dissolves fear. When we take the time to learn about someone's story, their struggles, their context, the fear starts to fade. Empathy enters where ignorance once stood. The same is true for inner fears. We fear emotions we don't understand. We fear anxiety, sadness, failure, even success, because we don't fully grasp what they mean or how to manage them. Instead of sitting with discomfort, we run from it. But avoiding something doesn't reduce fear, it reinforces it. The more we run, the less we know, and the less we know, the more we fear. The antidote to this is curiosity. When you lean in instead of backing away, you begin to strip fear of its mystery. You begin to explore. You ask questions, you gather facts, you gain perspective. You realize that what you feared might not be so dangerous after all. It was just unfamiliar. And what is unfamiliar today can become familiar tomorrow. Consider public speaking, one of the most common fears in the world. People aren't just afraid of talking. They're afraid of what might happen because they don't understand the experience. What will I say if I forget my words? What if they laugh at me? What if I freeze? But the more you practice, the more you expose yourself to it, the more you learn how your body reacts, how to recover, how to connect. The fear starts to lose its grip. Understanding replaces anxiety with confidence. The problem is that many people don't wait long enough to reach that understanding. They stop at the first sign of fear. They turn around before they have a chance to learn. But when you push through even just a little, you start to see that most of what you feared wasn't real. It was imagined. It was your brain doing what it's designed to do, protect you. But protection isn't the same as truth. Understanding gives you leverage. It allows you to take a situation that once felt overwhelming and break it into manageable parts. You can study it, ask about it, test it, and slowly gain control. And in that process, fear becomes less of a threat and more of a teacher. It points you toward where you need to grow. It shows you what you haven't explored yet. It becomes a signal not to run away, but to dig deeper. Your comfort zone is your prison in disguise. It feels safe, familiar, predictable. Inside the comfort zone, there's little risk of failure, embarrassment, or pain. It's where routines live, where expectations are managed, where surprises are minimal. It's the space where you know how things work, where your skills match the tasks, where your days are structured, and outcomes are largely expected. From the outside, it seems like a place of peace, but beneath the surface, it slowly turns into confinement. The comfort zone is deceptive because it provides short-term ease at the cost of long-term growth. It creates a bubble where discomfort is minimized, but so is progress. It's a subtle kind of trap, not made of walls or chains, but of habits, fears, and justifications. I'm not ready yet. Maybe next time. This is good enough for now. These thoughts may sound reasonable, even rational, but over time they become the bars that keep you locked inside a life far smaller than the one you're capable of living. Growth never happens inside the comfort zone. Growth is always uncomfortable. It requires stretch, friction, effort, and uncertainty. It requires putting yourself in situations where you might fail, where you might look foolish, where things might not go as planned. That's why so many people stay stuck, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they've made a silent agreement with comfort. They've traded potential for predictability. The most dangerous part of the comfort zone is how quietly it limits you. You don't always realize how much it's costing you. You might convince yourself you're doing fine after all. Nothing's wrong. But nothing great is happening either. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years, and one day you look back and wonder where all the time went. That's the silent effect of comfort. It makes you complacent. It tells you this is enough, when deep down you know you were meant for more. People often confuse comfort with happiness, but comfort doesn't fulfill. It numbs. It dulls the edge of dissatisfaction just enough to keep you from making a change. But fulfillment comes from challenge, from facing something you thought you couldn't handle and realizing you could. From learning something new, taking a risk, pushing your limits, surprising yourself. These things don't live in the comfort zone. They live beyond it. Stepping out doesn't mean throwing yourself into chaos. It means doing the next small, hard thing. It means having the uncomfortable conversation, taking the new role, signing up for the class, starting the side project, setting the boundary. It's not about being fearless, it's about being willing. Willing to feel awkward, willing to be a beginner, willing to look stupid for a while so you can be better in the long run. The comfort zone often disguises itself as logic. It tells you to be smart, to be cautious, to play it safe. But sometimes playing it safe is the most dangerous move of all. Because safety doesn't protect your growth. It protects your stagnation. The more you stay where it's safe, the more you shrink your world. Your world becomes the size of your routines, your expectations, your same old thoughts and behaviors. And there's something else comfort steals from you, the thrill of being alive, the rush of doing something you've never done before. The sense of pride that comes from facing something that scared you, the discovery of parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. These things don't happen when you're repeating yesterday. They happen when you're walking into today with a bit of uncertainty and a lot of courage. Inside the comfort zone, there's control. But outside of it, there's possibility. And possibility is what leads to transformation. Not just external achievements, but internal breakthroughs. You start to realize you're capable of more than you thought. You learn, you adapt, you evolve. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what might I become? The goal isn't to be fearless, but to act despite fear. Too often, people think that courage means the absence of fear. They look at those who take bold action and assume those individuals simply don't feel the same fear they do. But the truth is, everyone feels fear. It doesn't matter how experienced, skilled, or confident a person is, fear never fully disappears. It just changes shape. What separates those who move forward from those who stay frozen isn't fearlessness. It's the decision to move anyway. Waiting to become fearless is like waiting for the sky to turn green. It's not going to happen. Fear is part of being human. It's a signal that you're stepping into something unfamiliar, uncertain, or important. In fact, fear often shows up most strongly when something truly matters to you. That's not a weakness, it's a sign you care. The key is to learn how to function with fear present, rather than believing you need to eliminate it before you begin. Fear is loud, but it isn't final. It will speak up. It will try to influence your decisions. It will offer you every reason to turn back. But it doesn't get to make the final call unless you let it. Fear is like a passenger in the car. It can ride with you, but it doesn't get to steer. You acknowledge it, but you don't obey it. Action is the disruptor of fear. The moment you take a step, any step, you start to break the spell fear holds over you. The situation hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. You begin to see that you are capable of moving even while afraid. That discovery is powerful. It gives you evidence that fear doesn't control you. It shifts the story from "I can't" to "I can, even if I'm scared." Some of the most successful people in the world have openly admitted to feeling fear regularly. Athletes before big games, speakers before walking on stage, entrepreneurs launching new ventures. They don't feel fearless, they feel committed. Committed to something greater than the fear, a vision, a mission, a purpose that pulls them forward. That's the key. When your why becomes bigger than your fear, you start to act from conviction rather than hesitation. Fear doesn't leave before courage arrives. Courage steps forward with fear standing right beside it. You don't need to wait for the nerves to go away to make the call, write the message, take the leap. You just need to accept that fear is part of the process. It's a companion, not a command, and the more you act despite fear, the quieter it gets over time. Not because it disappears, but because it loses its power to paralyze. Purpose is the antidote to fear. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but purpose creates clarity. When you don't know why you're doing something, fear has room to grow. It asks questions like, what if this goes wrong? Or what will people think? And there's no anchor to hold you steady. But when you're connected to a deeper reason, a purpose that matters to you, fear starts to lose its grip. It may still be there, but it doesn't dictate your direction. Purpose becomes the compass that guides your steps, even when the path feels shaky. Purpose gives meaning to discomfort. Without it, fear feels overwhelming because it serves no clear end. But when you're working towards something you believe in, every fear, doubt, and setback becomes part of the journey. You're not just enduring pain, you're enduring it for a reason. That reason becomes your fuel. It helps you get up when you fall. It reminds you why you started. It turns obstacles into stepping stones rather than dead ends. People who know their purpose still feel fear. But the difference is, they also feel a deep responsibility. A responsibility to show up, to contribute, to create change. That responsibility often outweighs the desire to stay safe. When you truly believe in something, whether it's a cause, a vision, a dream, or a mission, you become willing to take risks. Not because you enjoy fear, but because what's at stake matters more than your temporary comfort. Without purpose, fear feels final. Every rejection feels personal. Every failure feels fatal. But with purpose, those same moments are reframed. A rejection becomes redirection. A failure becomes feedback. The experience is the same, but the interpretation is different. Purpose shifts your mindset from "I hope this works out" to "I'll figure it out because it matters." That shift alone can change how you face fear. Many people never take the time to define their purpose. They drift through life reacting to whatever comes, instead of intentionally moving toward what matters. When fear shows up in that kind of life, it easily takes over. There's no counterweight, no deeper why to stand on. But when you take the time to ask, what do I stand for? What am I here to create? Who do I want to impact? You begin to build something stronger than fear. You build conviction. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing, it just has to be true. It could be about being a better parent, creating art that moves people, building a business that solves real problems, helping others grow, or telling stories that inspire. The scale doesn't matter, the sincerity does. When you believe in what you're doing, fear becomes part of the process, not the reason to stop. Purpose also gives you perspective. When fear tries to make you focus on the worst case scenario, purpose reminds you of the bigger picture. It zooms you out from the moment of panic and brings you back to your mission. It tells you that fear is just a moment, not the whole story. That even if you stumble today, you're still walking the path that matters. People with purpose walk differently. They speak differently. They make decisions not based on what's easy or popular, but on what's aligned. And alignment builds courage, it builds resilience. It helps you push through the noise of doubt and the weight of uncertainty because you know what you're working toward. You know what you're fighting for. You know what you're willing to be uncomfortable for. When fear shows up, and it always does, purpose is what reminds you to keep going. It reminds you that the fear you feel now is nothing compared to the regret you'll feel if you walk away from what matters. It reminds you that bravery isn't about being unafraid, it's about being loyal to something bigger than fear. You don't need to conquer fear, you need to coexist with it. Fear is not an enemy to be destroyed. It is not a flaw to be eliminated or a weakness to be ashamed of. It's a natural part of being alive. It shows up when we care about something, when we're stepping into the unknown, or when we're on the edge of growth. The problem begins when we treat fear as a sign to stop, instead of a signal to be aware. We waste energy trying to silence it completely, believing we can only move forward once we've erased every ounce of doubt. But fear doesn't go away just because we want it to. It's persistent, it's wired into us, so the goal is not to conquer it, but to learn how to live and move with it. Coexisting with fear means making space for it without letting it take the lead. It means acknowledging its voice without giving it a vote in your decisions. You can feel afraid and still take action. You can feel uncertain and still speak up. You can feel vulnerable and still show up fully. Fear may be in the room, but it doesn't get to hold the microphone. You do. People who make bold moves, who start companies, create art, lead movements, chase dreams. They don't wait for fear to disappear. They've simply learned how to carry it with them. They recognize it as part of the process, not a reason to pause. They don't demonize it, but they don't bow to it either. They let it ride in the backseat, but they never let it drive. Fear loses its control when you stop resisting it and start understanding it. When you see it not as a wall, but as a mirror showing you where you care, where you're growing, and where you need to lean in. Coexisting with fear is an act of maturity. It's realizing that your strength is not measured by how little fear you feel, but by how well you carry it without letting it derail you. Every meaningful action, every leap into the unknown will come with fear. That's not failure, that's the cost of doing something that matters. So instead of asking how to eliminate fear, ask how to walk with it more wisely, more gently, more courageously.